Hey, what's going on, everybody? Geronimo22. Going to talk about a concept that I've seen pop up. JTO talked about it in one of his videos. This is an older uh, clip here against the Browns, and you see this route that is incomplete on this play, but this is what the Niners and a lot of the wide zone guys will call a swirl route. They will tag it. It's usually built similar to this, where you get two guys running the same route, a mirrored route concept. You usually get some sort of control route over the middle of the field, it being a dig, or it could be a little like spot route, a little OTB type route. But the idea is that we want to get somebody to this spot on the field, this spot on the field, inside the numbers, somewhere around 15 to 12 to 15 yards, similar to as if it was a curl route. So what we're getting here is we're going to get our outside receiver starting to work a corner and then come back down the stem. I used to call it a 7 stop in the digit system. So then he's going to work back down the stem and come back to his spot on the field. So as we keep on working the progression, this is going to be very similar to how Hank concept would be a mirrored concept where you have curl flats. You're going to get a control route here, a control route to the flat over here. And how you read it, you could read it like a Hank concept, where you could read off of wherever that middle linebacker is, the middle of the 3 or the 4, will work opposite to where he is moving. So if he was moving in this direction, we know that there's going to be a flat defender in a bind over here. So we can work this guy, right? I know JTO talked about this. Or we could just really kind of treat this like, hey, we're going to throw this to the best matchup or the guy or just maybe one side of the defense, because this route does get deeper than a normal curl. So there's a lot more space there. Okay. If you do get man coverage, you should be in good shape as well. So we're teaching as kind of like a mirrored concept, but then we will see later on this could be used as a pure progression backside concept where it's like your number fourth read in the progression because of the timing of it. As you watch the play here, this does require a 5-step drop and probably a hitch or two to throw it to the guy. In our game, that's kind of equivalent to getting back about maybe 10 yards, 12 yards from the line of scrimmage. But you can just take a look at that route. Let's take a look at it again from a different game. So we have here against the Cardinals, a little further back. I think we get double swirl here. We may only get one swirl, so it doesn't have to be two swirls on the field. You can also just run a normal 7 route on one side and then run a swirl here, but you can see how the receiver at the bottom is running the swirl. He sits down, he kind of just turns out and just stops, right there. But this is kind of the exact same spot that you would want a curl route to be. You can see the Cardinals are running their a non-traditional cover 2 out of a 3 high look. One of these safeties is going to drop down. I think this one. They're going to play cover 2. The safety is looking to the strong side a little bit because that's where there's 3 receivers, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, it's 2 by 2. I apologize. But the back does step that way. But you can see how this little window opens up right here. So what I want to try to do is just get this in our game, talk about it. Where can you find it? I'm going to use the Niners playbook. Let me show you just a quick little um, sheet from play call sheet or diagram sheet from the Niners and the Dolphins from the past couple years. It'll explain a little bit of the reads on there. It may not be perfect. It may not be exactly how a team may want to coach it and how you want to play with it, but take a look at that. Then we're going to Madden field. Take a look at it there. All right, take a look at the playbook here. This is an example of double swirl on both sides. If you watched anything from JTO, I think he did a breakdown of Purdy a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I talked about this route, and it was really interesting because he talked about different ways to read this. And he talked about potentially reading this always, working one, right, and then working out to your twos. This could be your 2, this could be your 2, depending on what you're reading. And then your check down would be your last read. Or you could just kind of read it one side to another. And I think he kind of went with it would be like 1 to 2 to 3, just working one left side. So however you want to work it doesn't matter. I'm kind of surprised by this being here. This could mean, and we're all speculating, we're not in the meeting rooms, but could mean we're reading off of maybe a safety and we're throwing this timing of this ball to be kind of similar. But this is a 17-yard route here, and our games might be a little bit slower. I would think this be like a as JTO would say, you would have one, and then on yours you would hitch up maybe one or two and throw it down to this, throw it up to this guy next. But in general, this is the route concept. You see what it looks like. It's really built to be a nice mirrored route concept. You can run it though as a backside route. So if you take a look at this is an example of the same route concept, but it's only happening to one side of the field. So this is treated as a number 4 read here in this playbook. So we would have some sort of read, whatever you want to do, and then this would be your last option. I'm going to look at it from a standpoint of treating this and making it easy on our brains as we play Madden as pretty much your first option. And then we'll have some sort of like, hey, it's taken away, then we will get off of it. But we're going to have to take a pretty deep drop in order for this thing to time up. And we'll talk about that more on the Madden field. Okay, let's just start with the first one. We'll go with the mirrored concept. So if you jump into the Niners playbook, take a look at split close, double swirl. Okay, we'll go against random defense. So this would be a good first and second down play. Again, we're coming out in gun close, all right? Swirls the play call. If you don't like it, and that's where that to me is where we're gonna have to probably back up for further. This route's gonna take a while. All right, I like this example here. So I'm going against random defense just to show you guys that the route works against pretty much everything. That's probably what we're trying to get to more and more as we play the game. We don't want to always have to have everything be a perfect coverage read. We'll reward ourselves once we kind of get tendencies. He has the less junk to work against. If I wanted to go to number 1 on the right of screen, you can see Kittle's in his way. There's a whole bunch of trash going on. I know it's all out pressure. I do have 2 running backs staying in the block, so I'm not overly worried. And I feel like as long as I can get back to my depth, which I told you should be about like 10 yards from line of scrimmage, maybe 12. But I threw this one really early, knowing it's man, knowing we're going to kind of win that route. So let's keep it moving. This is an example of what I think could happen to you. So this would be here. We're getting the defense playing the swirl route on the right side. By the time I get back here to 10, right, I see that this looks really cloudy. I'm taking another step or two just to get back. I don't like hitching up in our game, and that may not be ultra realistic, but that usually pressure comes up the middle the most in this game, and you want to make sure that you get away from that. That little 1 or 2 steps right there from the 50 could be the difference if you're not looking if you're getting sacked or not, right? So I'm taking the flat ball. Okay, I could potentially take a different read on this and say, hey, I want to look down the middle of the field and make that read right now. So I wouldn't make that the first thing I would do, but I would start to look at that maybe later on. Take a look at some more examples. All right, I'm taking this one pretty early. I did see the blitzer coming at me, and also I can tell that what am I looking for? I'm actually kind of looking for space on a field, right? I'm looking for this area that's right about here between the numbers, right inside the numbers at about like 15 yards deep, right? And when the ball is snapped, I'm trying to back out here so I can show you. I can see there's a safety sitting literally right there, right? I know that's probably 3 buzz or 3 blitz. He's the curl flat defender or the seam flat defender, and if he's playing seam flat, he's going to hold that seam longer. So at that point, I'm like, all right, cool. Even though we should pick up this blitzer, I'm throwing it right now to the back. Glad I did that because we did not pick up the blitzer. But just wanted to give you guys a quick view of that. Looks like it could be quarters. I'm going to trust it a little bit here. There was some sort of man coverage. It wasn't quarters, but it was close. Again, man quarters match, whatever it might be. You're going to get this nice leverage on this guy. He's going to attack his leverage, right? Corner should run. You throw it early with anticipation. You just need a guy who can make a catch, right? Make sure you have good catching traffic guys. That's what this route is needed for. All right, let's take a look at what else we have. We have some other examples of this and some other formations. I know I have one out of bunch nasty. This one's going to be a little bit different. It's going to come from the tight end. He's going to run the swirl route. You have also a nice little halfback option route on the right side here. Now that looked like a cover 2, so I was ready to throw it to the flat. Take a look at that one. So we got like a soft version of cover 2 or whatever it might have been. All I'm looking at is that, hey, what's going on? Is that spot open? No, right? There's a corner sitting here. Now we are putting him in a bind, so you still potentially could throw this, right? But I just felt better throwing it there. Okay, getting some reps here with you right now. I'm kind of obviously thinking pretty quick on the route. I'm looking at stuff. I'm going to trust this one here. I got pressure coming. You should have a pressure plan for this. You should get the ball out to potentially anybody else to the left side, even R1 here. If you get all out pressure, you may not want to wait on that. But again, that looks really cloudy, right? So we're not going to take that. Computer's giving me all the cloudy looks that you can get, which is good. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of this when you play against people online. Take a look at it again. All right. Again, I want to show you something here. This is an example of your pocket presence. I knew I had Kittle. I felt good about it. I could tell it was man coverage as I'm going through the drop. I could tell, all right, he's going to probably win. But like I said, what happens in this game? Guys lose up the middle a lot. So where's my drop? Look how short it is. So if I would have went back 5 yards from my spot and been at the 50, I would have had a little bit more time to kind of like take another step, have a breather, and throw this ball on with better accuracy. So this is a deeper drop, man. You gotta be ready for it. That's why you kind of have to take it right off the bat and just kind of go with it. And that's a good example there. I'm just dropping the ball for some reason, but we're getting the good timing on that one. All right. So here's an example of just one, and then I'll give you some more examples that I already have in my favorites. I'm going to anticipate using this play a lot on third down and also on first and second. I'll probably use the mirrored one like this on first and second, where I kind of anticipate it being a little bit more zone coveragey. This one here in the middle, out of a single back wing tight nasty, is a 13 personnel version. I would kind of hold off on that. I'll kind of like see what you're getting, use that later in the game. I showed you this one here. I like this one as a third down option because we have the halfback option. We'll have another video on that later coming up. Here on the right side of the screen, we gotta have a double swirl. It's also built with arches and also with a tree with a branch combination. So that's a really nice one. I can see that being one I would use. And here's another one here on the left-hand side, gun bunch Y flex. You get it only on the left-hand side, so I would kind of read right to left. But we'll talk about in another video how the Niners kind of play, in my opinion. They kind of have an interesting way of for a tendency that I've noticed on how they read the field and which side they read first. Okay, so we'll talk about that in the next video. But I just want to give you guys a quick little overview. Try it out in the games, see how you like it. When I jump into some games here, I'll give you some more video on it. But I just want to give you something nice and quick for the new year. This is just a concept video. It doesn't matter what style of offense you run, you can always use this concept. But I've seen this type of style, this type of formation used with the Shanahan system a lot. All right. All right, man. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Talk to you later.